Hey, welcome back to the channel. I've got something really interesting to show you today. So you don't know this, but I'm a data analyst in my day job. And recently I made a video where I was talking about the cost of ripping packs versus what you can expect to get out of that in terms of value. And it's almost never a good idea to rip packs if you really expect to get the value out of what you open. And in that video, I even did something brand new, which was include the gem rates from PSA to understand out every pack that you open, the pull rate plus the gem rate to truly understand what you can end-to-end net in terms of return. One of the things that I missed in that video is the cost. So the cost of the sets that I was showing you was just based on booster boxes. But I decided, what if I were to take that same analysis, apply it to every set in Scarlet Violet, and look for the lowest cost per pack source? Then what would that turn out to be? And what I found out was pretty stunning. So let's go ahead and just jump in. It turns out there are a handful of sets that you can open and rip packs and not only break even, but actually see an improvement or a return on investment. And those sets right now are overlooked, and I understand why now. White Flare and Black Bolt with a little bit of Paldea Fates, surprisingly enough. So White Flare, the cost per pack right now is $8.38 if you buy a booster bundle of White Flare. So if you were to buy enough packs, and understand in reality, you're not going to be able to source at this same cost per pack to reach 432. But assuming you were to open enough around this cost per pack price and open up about 2 cases worth, that'd be about $3,619. Well, if you include all the things I just mentioned, pull rates, gem rates, you're looking at an actual return is $5,400. And you're actually gaining 50% over your total cost. That, to me, blew my mind. And it's kind of interesting the reasons why. So in this case, I was thinking, all right, so if it's at the top, it's got to be because, they removed the hyper rare, the gold rarity tier, right? Even those are around like 1 in 140 packs. They replaced it with a higher rarity tier, the black and white rarity tier. Those are like 1 in 400 some odd packs, right? But the value of those, I thought, has to be so much more higher than the gold hyper rare. So I thought all this value increase had to be coming from those rarity tiers. It's actually not the case. This is about average to get 26% either from SIR, hyper rare, or your black and white rarity tier for both Black Bolt and White Flare. All your value is really coming from your illustration rares. So there are so many illustration rares in the set. And if you apply the gem rates for those, they're still almost all around in this $100 range. Now, they're probably not as fluid. So if you're thinking about, oh, what would if I were to just do this, open a bunch of packs, grade them all, and then immediately resell them? Of course, in reality, again, reselling a lot of the high volume of illustration rares to really realize this value is going to be a little harder. But I think even that, if that's the case, you'll have more to select from to choose what to grade, and more volume to just sell in general, versus really relying like Prismatic Evolutions. Let's go ahead and jump to that. The complete opposite of Black Bolt and White Flare is Prismatic Evolutions. You can see it here in the data. Whereas here, you're really consistent with your illustration rares, Black Bolt and White Flare. Prismatic Evolutions, there are no illustration rares. And by the way, I'm including Master Balls in this other rarity tier. I'm including Master Balls in both White Flare, Black Bolt, as well as Master Balls and Prismatic Evolutions. These are all included. But truly, for Prismatic, you are relying everything, your soul, on this getting those evolutions. And if you don't, it truly is bust. And guess how often it's bust? It's bust enough that you will lose your ass about 36%, even in best case scenarios. Well, the average. But yeah, best case scenario, because I'm choosing the lowest cost per pack. So right now the booster bundle is the lowest cost per pack. The cost per pack is not the highest, but not the lowest, of course. The average cost per pack is around $8.41. These are all market prices, by the way. So it is higher cost per pack, but your gem rates are low enough, your pull rates are terrible. You're relying completely on one rarity tier. 72% has to come from this top tier rarity tier in order for you to get in anything that that's going to be worthwhile. So Prismatic Evolutions, the very bottom, the stinker, the F tier, S tier in terms of generating value for opening packs, these guys at the top. Now let's talk about Paldean Fates. This one surprised me a little bit. It's also really different than a lot of the other sets because there are almost no, it's kind of similar to Prismatic Evolutions. There's almost no illustration rares. There's 2, but they're also the same pull rates as any of the other sets for illustration rares. So you got a ton of them on the market. They're not valuable, right? So you're really relying on your Bubble Mew, your Charizard, and your Gardevoir. But you can still have there's so many other things to pull from. So it turns out there's a lot of baby shinies that when they graded 10, there's a lot of collectors out there that want the baby shinies, that want all of them, and want all of them in a 10. So they do have value because there's a goal there to achieve all the baby shinies. I think that's something unique to this set as well that is driving a lot of this extra value. So the Snorlax, the Pikachus that come from Paldean Fates, really helping out. So let's see. One other thing I want to talk about, one other set is 151. Even though 151 has the highest pack cost, it's still about break even for 151 because the set is so balanced. Really hit that B well. Balanced. Look at the value. This one has almost the highest value that you generate from your SIRs. But it has a ton of illustration rare value. I think this is not only is 151 so perfect in terms of the cards that are in the set. It's a first gen and the artworks are delicious. But look at the balance of the value that's coming from this. You have high pull rates for SIRs. They are worth a lot. They're desirable. So the value is there. People want them. And the same thing for the illustration rares. It's just, it couldn't be a more well-designed set. And I'm so glad that it happened to 151. So even with this high cost per pack, of course, this is not coming from an ETB. There's one caveat here, that this other you see here is actually coming from the Blooming Waters collection box. So because there's no booster boxes for 151, because the collecting item for 151 is now the ETB, which is skyrocketed in price. If you crack open an ETB, I think the cost per pack is like $30. It's ridiculous, or actually maybe even more. Even the booster bundles, through the roof, right? But assuming you're able to get Blooming Waters, which they've been coming down in price here in the past couple of weeks, with that cost per pack still being that relatively high, you're still able to get value out of it, have a good experience with the pull rates for SIRs, and then see your returns. When you get those things graded, you're going to still net a small profit, assuming everything goes according to plan. You could even go below it, above it, of course, but that's assuming you really get good luck. One of the last thing is Destined Rivals. So I mentioned Destined Rivals in my previous video. Again, I used the booster box price to assess the value end to end for this set. But because the same thing 151, the collecting item for Destined Rivals has become the booster box. So it has also skyrocketed in price, and it's not the best source of packs. So if you were to use loose sleeved packs, that's key here. In all of this analysis, I'm not using regular loose packs. They have to be sleeved blisters, okay? Because people open booster boxes as soon as they hit the SIR or the high rarity card in that booster box, they'll just sell the rest, right? So we don't want that affecting our analysis. So the only time I'm using a loose is for a blister sleeve pack. That's it. So assume you're able to get 432 of those. We know it's not super realistic, but it is the only other set. I just wanted to mention that there is enough value you can get out of Destined Rivals based on if you can lower the pack cost, and there is an avenue to do that right now. There's a ton of collection boxes out there with low pack costs. Their Destined Rivals is in a lot of the sets and the other collection boxes coming out. I do think that there's a way, and it's still right there, kind of quasi-openable, I would say, without totally losing your ass. Let me just talk one quick bit about Paldea Evolved, and then I'll give you your time back. Paldea Evolved. This one's at the bottom only because this entire set is being driven by one card, and that's the Magikarp. But also, that one card has the lowest gem rate. One of the highest value cards for a 10, but the lowest gem rate. And this also, that's what's driving the price, is because of the low gem rate. And you can see it right here affected in the set. Assuming you're able to get loose packs, again, these are blisters, I should say blister. $10 or 45 cents a pack. It's crazy. And you're losing 31% on average by opening this. You're not going to get that lucky. You can see here the value is all coming from the illustration rares. There's just that one illustration rare that's doing all the work. There you go. So what have we learned? Go ahead. Go ham on White Flare and Black Bolt, apparently. I was totally surprised too, but that's what the numbers say. I might have to pick some up and actually open some stuff and not feel super guilty about it. I think that'll be interesting, and really give it a test. Let's test it and see how it goes. So, but anyways, I hope you found this interesting. I really appreciate you watching my videos. I'm new to this, so give me a comment, a like, and subscribe if you liked what you see. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video.